Hey guys, it's Ryan with Fluid Health, and today we're bringing you another episode of Science Powered Fitness. This one's on forward shoulder posture and its connection with the power myofascial front network. So that's the flexor line on the front of the body, the superficial muscle groups. We've got our pectorals, they're flexors of the shoulders, right? The lats partially produce that flexion as well. We've got our abdominals, specifically the rectus abdominis and the external obliques. Those are more of the power abdominal musculature. So those are part of this power network. And then we get down into our lower extremities and we'll get into our quads and our adductors. So all these muscles flex together and stretch together. So they're a team. And each segment can produce more or less force. And then if they're out of balance, because you overuse your chest muscles to bring your center of mass in when you're moving, or you overdo it with pushes or presses, that can lead to this forward migration of the shoulder. But ultimately what we want to know is that this network of force from the superior segment to the medial to the distal or the inferior, they're all in balance because they all stretch together. So acknowledge that if one segment is stiffer than the opposing segments, well then we're going to start to see accessory motion show up in the segment that's overstretched. So what that means is if my pecs, my obliques, or my rectus abdominis and my hip flexors, my groin specifically, and my quads, if they all stretch together, if the pec and the flexors are too tight, the segment between them will accessory or have accessory stretching or overstretching. So it just means that the segments are going to pull on the segment between and open it up too much. So what that means is that the stretch resistance through our abdominals, or the muscles that supports the lumbar portion of our flexion, isn't stable enough. And so we see this expansion through the trunk, and we'll go into hyperlordosis or hyperextension. The ribs will lift up, and that actually creates an adaptive shortening of the pec and the lat. So when we put our spine back into a neutral organization by flexing under, it draws the shoulders forward, and it demonstrates that adaptive shortening that can take place. So we want to show that here on this little diagram. You can see this flexor line. And again, if I draw my arms up overhead, you're going to see that upward force in that blue line, which is going to pull up on the trunk and create this hyperextension, and that again stretches the abdominals. Then we have this downward inferior force that pulls downward on the hips, and that again is more in that groin or hip flexor region that's going to pull down and then open up that abdominal region in between. So again, it's a tug of war essentially between the trunk and the hips and the lumbar, and how these forces pull up or down, and then it opens up the lumbar and creates the accessory motion through your back. It normally leads to a sway orientation, and then the shoulders migrate forward to try to balance that, and that's where we get into this forward shoulder migration. So fast forward back to the shoulders, just recognize that the distortion globally can lead to the local regional overreaction as it's trying to balance the stability systems, try to help with the labyrinth and the riding reflex, these somatic reflexes that help to keep our balance, and then it creates these disproportionate use of the local regional muscles to try to support that, and that can alter the glide of the movement when you're doing your functional patterns like pushes or pulls. Okay? So again, acknowledging the local, regional, and global relationships is going to help you to fix it. If you have questions on any of these things, remember, reach out to admin@fluidhealthandfitness.com. There's definitely corrective exercise strategies you can employ to fix these things, and that's what we really want to drive into. So make sure to reach out if you have questions. Again, your body is designed to move, so stay in motion, and we'll see you soon.